Hey, how is it going, Elder Scrolls Nation? It is Skullzi here, and I couldn't be happier to be talking about what I am talking about today, because we finally got a trailer for the Elder Scrolls VI! Yes! Now, it was only 30 seconds of landscape, but for Bethesda Game Studios, that is a lot to talk about for a game that they aren't putting out for a long time. Normally, they would just tell us they're not making it. But we finally got a teaser trailer. This is so exciting! And another interesting thing, looks like all of the leaks and discoveries I was making over the last few months about Elder Scrolls VI are true. Not trying to say I told you so or anything, but about a month ago I found the Elder Scrolls VI had pending patents and trademarks, and I covered all of that in depth in a different video. If you want to check that out, check for a link in the video down below. Now, I have been digging into the Elder Scrolls VI for years, so if you've been watching my videos for a while now, then you know how special this moment is to both myself and the rest of Elder Scrolls Nation. This is the channel for Elder Scrolls VI news, and I'm glad that my discoveries and trademark sleuthing has finally been proven true. Now the real hype can begin. And prepare to get hyped, because not only am I fairly confident in what the setting of the Elder Scrolls VI will be, but I am pretty sure I have the story figured out as well, so let's not waste any more time and get right to it. So, to start things off, I'm going to assume that you already watched the Elder Scrolls VI teaser trailer that Bethesda was kind enough to blue balls us with at E3 a few days ago. If not, you can watch the original trailer itself by checking for a link in the description below. Either way, you're gonna see plenty of footage of that trailer in this video. The trailer in itself didn't show much, only about 30 seconds of landscape, but Bethesda did tell us enough to figure out what part of Tamriel this trailer is showing us. And armed with a healthy amount of knowledge in both Elder Scrolls lore and geography, we will break all of this down together so that you can see where I think the Elder Scrolls VI will take place. And based upon this setting and a bit of Bethesda trends along with even more lore, I am pretty confident that I have a good idea what the storyline of the Elder Scrolls VI will be if it takes place in High Rock. And yes, that is correct. I am 95% confident that what we are seeing in this trailer is High Rock, and I will explain why. First off, what does the trailer tell us? We can see the high cliffs, what looks like a mountain range in the background, and a hilly landscape full of gigantic boulders and small stones aplenty, with no people or settlements in sight. The region itself looks fairly temperate, neither too cold nor too hot, except for the strong sea breeze from the Iliac Bay blowing in to cool things down, as I do believe that this is the coastline we are seeing. The Iliac Bay is perhaps the most noteworthy coastline in Elder Scrolls lore, playing a large part in the history of both High Rock and Hammerfell alike. And Bethesda wouldn't just show us landmarks or coastlines like this unless they were trying to tell us something. Now, I suppose this could also be the Bay of Nomar up north above High Rock, but I think it would much more likely be the case for Bethesda to showcase the Iliac Bay because of its lore significance rather than the Bay of Nomar. And what of that building? Did they miss it, or did they actually catch it as this trailer was rolling along the landscape? This building right here is clearly not rocks nor rubble, but old ruins left to decay to both weather and time. While this tower may not seem like much at first, this tower is the final bit of evidence that really enforces why I think that this is High Rock. High Rock is actually known quite well for its many castles and ruins that dot the landscape. Breton history is one of nobility, with several different noble houses vying for territory and power throughout the history of High Rock. As power is gained and lost, so is both the capability and the interest to maintain some of these castles and fortresses. And it even goes deeper than that. As some of you may know, the Orsimer, or more commonly known as the Orcs by most of us, originally hailed from High Rock as well, and actually had their capital city here for some time until it was destroyed and sacked. This city was known as Orsinium, and you can see it on the map here. And in fact, its ruins still stand today. As you can see in this picture, they actually do look a bit similar to the ones you can see in the trailer. So that tower could actually be Breton nobility from a long time ago, a castle from wars or times past, or even an old relic. As for the mountains, I believe that those mountains are the Hrothgarian Mountains, a large span of mountains that is said to be mostly barren, just as the land is shown in the trailer. But don't worry, as another reason that High Rock is most likely in Elder Scrolls VI is because it is a region of diverse biomes and landscape. From the choking valleys of the Hrothgarian Mountains to the open plains near Wayrest, with forest and prairie and tundra all in between. And desert, because I think that Hammerfell will also be in the Elder Scrolls VI as well. well. I know a lot of you guys thought that this could be Hammerfell in the footage. I don't think it is, but I do think Hammerfell will be in the Elder Scrolls 6. Hammerfell is mostly desert with some tropical lush land and open prairies, but the landscape is not as diverse as High Rock, which is why I think Hammerfell would not be used as the main location for an Elder Scrolls game, but would be perfect for a second region or a DLC type scenario. With next-gen technology, Bethesda Game Studios will want to push the bar even further with Elder Scrolls 6, and I believe that they will do that with not only a new engine, but they'll have to do something else as well, as I think Starfield is going to come out before the Elder Scrolls 6, and Starfield is going to be on this new engine, so if the Elder Scrolls 6 is just on a new engine, that wouldn't be enough to push the bar. So what do I think they're going to do? I think the Elder Scrolls 6, like I said, will have two regions, High Rock and Hammerfell, and both High Rock and Hammerfell have a rich history with one another as well, so all of this would fit together perfectly. Not only do I believe that this is the perfect setting for the Elder Scrolls 6, I also believe that this is exactly what we will see. And if the setting is indeed High Rock and Hammerfell, the story will be amazing, and I am pretty sure that I have it figured out. Now, like I said, I've been digging and digging into lore recently, and I think I pieced all of this together. But we need to start with Bethesda Game Studios and their Elder Scrolls trends in general. Every Elder Scrolls game usually takes place further down the timeline than the previous game, sometimes only a couple hundred years after the previous one, or sometimes an entire era. So I'd say it's safe to say that the Elder Scrolls 6 will do the same. This gives us some solid ground as to what might be going on in the history at the time of the Elder Scrolls 6, and from there we can start speculating on the story. So the Thalmor are most likely still around, and they have a bone to pick with Hammerfell, and they've had that for a while now. I believe that the Thalmor are launching a massive invasion in Hammerfell, and that they are also up to something a lot more sinister in High Rock as well. I believe the game will start in High Rock, and as you progress through the game and become more powerful, you will start getting quests to go to Hammerfell, where the game will definitely be a lot more difficult due to the higher amount of Thalmor forces and the desert itself. We go from the tundra and the snowy wastelands of Skyrim to the desert of Hammerfell. The Thalmor will try to occupy Hammerfell because of its rich metal veins and to finish off what they started, because before the events of Skyrim, the Red Guards actually defeated the Thalmor and pushed them out of Hammerfell when they tried to invade the first time. Now, you guys should know me better. I always look deep, so this isn't where it ends. This is actually where it starts to get super interesting. Let's move over to High Rock. We know why the Thalmor would be in Hammerfell, but let's move over to High Rock, because I believe you start the game in High Rock, move over to Hammerfell, and then get sent back to High Rock to finish up the main quest. Now, High Rock is very important in Elder Scrolls lore. In fact, the very reason Nirn exists as it does is because of a structure located in High Rock. It is the most ancient structure and the first structure ever believed to have been built, and it is known as the Tower, also called the Adamantite Tower. This tower was built by the Divines themselves. This tower holds an artifact known as the Zero Stone. Not much is known about this stone except that it is somehow linked to stabilizing time and space itself, allowing the world and Tamriel to exist as it does. Now, long ago, in an era before time even began, known as the Dawn Era, the Divines destroyed a godlike being known as Lorkhan, ripping his heart out and shooting it into the ocean, far, far away near Morrowind, where the volcano rose from the ocean, and that's a whole nother story. Now, this event was known as the Convention, and afterwards the Divines were able to stabilize space and time, allowing Nirn and thus Tamriel to finally exist in a normal state. It is not fully understood whether the power from the Convention was transferred to the Zero Stone, or if the Zero Stone itself just holds residual energy and magic from this event. Either way, this stone has an insane amount of magical energy that nobody has ever been able to tap into successfully. And at the same time, the Zero Stone also keeps Nirn and thus Tamriel from reverting back into a prehistoric state where both time and space don't exist as we know them. And this is very important to the main story for two reasons. The first and most obvious one is High Elf pride. Anytime a magical mystery or a great magical feat happened in Tamriel, the High Elves either claim they themselves caused it to happen, or they go out and try to figure it out for everyone, and first. Now, this Zero Stone would be a huge nipple twist for the High Elves, and they not only want to go solve this mystery right away because they're the best, but also because, duh, they want to get that godlike magical energy. I dare say nothing would stop the Thalmor from trying to harvest untappable energy left over by godlike beings that created the plane of existence, by the Divines themselves. I'm talking Akatosh, people! But the second and much deeper and sinister reason, and the main focus on the Elder Scrolls 6 story, will be this, in my opinion, and it again revolves around High Elf pride. High Elves believe themselves to be the literal ancestors of the creators of Mundus, of the divines themselves, except for Telos. They hate that guy, and they also at the same time kind of hate the other divines. It's kind of confusing. The High Elves just kind of hate everything. But this is where we go deep into the lore. If legends and history ring true, then the High Elves are in fact descendants of the gods themselves. They are truly descendants of the divines, or more precisely, they're descendants of the type of beings that the divines are. I'll explain without getting too deep because this is a bit confusing, but if you want to know about the creation of the Elder Scrolls universe, again, I have a video where I broke all that down. A link is in the description below for that as well. But let's move on. Long ago, before the creation of Nirn and time itself, the High Elves were beings known as the Et Ada, also called the original spirits. During the creation process of Nirn and thus Tamriel, many Et Ada got stuck on Nirn after using up all of their godlike powers to create it. Eventually, over time, they evolved into the High Elves, and they remind you about this every single damn time they see you. Now, do you see where I'm going with this yet? If not, get ready. So as I mentioned earlier, the Adamantite Tower is believed to be linked to the very fabric of time and space that holds the plane of existence that Tamriel is on together. And when this tower was built, it is believed that the gateway to Aetherius got sealed, Aetherius being the realm of the gods and the Et Ada themselves. I believe that in the Elder Scrolls 6 you will play as the chosen hand of the divines, the hero that will defend not only Tamriel, but the entire plane of existence of Mundus as well, because I believe the Thalmor will either try to destroy the Adamantite Tower or try to manipulate the Zero Stone in a way to return the world back to the Dawn Age or completely destabilizing time, allowing the High Elves to attempt to return to Aetherius so that they can reclaim their power and become the godlike beings known as the Et Ada once more. And the way to Aetherius may very well be in the Adamantite Tower itself, as there is a door that has been sealed by several moving pieces, and it's another mystery that no one has ever been able to come close to solving. Basically another carrot dangling in the front in front of the face of the High Elves. You can't figure this out either, guys. Now, with all of this combined, it seems like the Thalmor would have likely been planning this for a long time, making High Rock and in turn Hammerfell the most likely setting for the Elder Scrolls 6, and the story I just told you being the most likely story, in my opinion, that we will see. Or this trailer could be showing us Akavir. But no, Bethesda wouldn't finally take us to Akavir, would they? Now remember, this is all speculation based on a 30-second trailer of Landscape, but it is speculation that was carried out with a deep understanding of Elder Scrolls lore and geography and Bethesda trends. And as always, I want to know what you think about all of this. Where do you think the Elder Scrolls 6 will take place? What do you think of my hypothesized storyline? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if your comment wins the internet, I'll be sure to feature it in a future video. And if you want to stay in the know about Bethesda and gaming news, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you can get new information first. And be sure to follow me on Twitter, as I post there all the time, and if you want to have your hand in personally building future content, then consider subscribing to me on Patreon. A link is in the description below for that, as well as a link for Sugarbombed, the best community for all your Bethesda and gaming hype needs. And as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when Todd Howard announces the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Todd Howard Edition. It just works.
Bye, have a great time.